welcome to Model Kit Stuff. Now recently some model building creators have been sharing what their workspace, workbench area looks like, and it occurs to me that I've never done that. And coincidentally, my partner and I have been talking about making some changes to this area. So actually what we're going to do here is give you a tour of my current workspace, which will become the sort of before video, and at some point in the new year when we make the changes, and I think we've pretty much finalized what that's going to look like to a certain degree, we can then do an after. So let's explain that a little bit more. I have mentioned in the past that I work in the kitchen. So this is the kitchen. And what I'm actually set up on is the dining room table. Now that was never a permanent solution. I had a permanent setup in the attic, but the attic wasn't permanently set up for someone to be occupying it. So didn't have any natural light in there, and we didn't have built-in heating in there. We just basically had a panelled floor and ceiling. So we were set up in there, and I had a dedicated working area, a dedicated paint area with a paint booth, an extraction system, and an inbuilt sort of area where my part built models were, so that I could access them quickly, and I had a table for my power tools used for wooden shipbuilding, so sanders, lathes, that type of stuff, and I had shelving in there for my books and my paints and various things, and I had the hobby zone units along the back wall, and it was all set up very nice. But in the summer it got too hot and I had fans on, but that only dealt with it partly. In the winter it was too cold and I had heaters, and that dealt with it partly. But I was having a lot of issues with insects. For a good part of the time we had lots of issues with moths and that sort of stuff. And you know, they'd then sometimes they would bother me, sometimes not so much, but you were constantly stopping what you were doing to deal with an insect, and that was getting a little bit tedious. So we made the decision that I would relocate down to the kitchen when I started having accelerated issues with my eyesight, and we thought, well, getting some natural light might be better. So we moved it down, and the intention was we'd set up on here and clear the table at the end of the day or whenever we needed the table for eating, and that's how I worked for about 6 months, and then the pandemic happened and I started working from home, and we haven't used the dining room table to eat from very often since the pandemic started, because as you can see here, at the back there I have a computer screen, and next to it I have a laptop. That's my works laptop, and in the working week, in the daytime, I've got my keyboard and my mouse on the table, and this is where I work from home from. And you know, at the start of the pandemic we thought, well, this might be 6 weeks, then we thought it might be 6 months, and here we are nearly 2 years later, and I'm still pretty much permanently working from home and modelling on the kitchen table. So I'll talk about what I plan to do in a minute, but this is where I am at the moment. So what you can see is I have a protective sheet down, and on top of that I have my cutting mats. I have two cutting mats set up usually. The red one I use for all of my modelling tasks all the time, and then this green one here is used for painting tasks. I do sometimes paint on there if I'm just doing something quick, but I tend to try and use the green one for painting tasks where I can. You can see I have an airbrush set up at the end. I have two airbrushes constantly set up, two different size needles, and my compressor is underneath the table, permanently set up. In this toolbox here, always to hand, I have files and sanding sticks. I've also got scrapers and bits and pieces in there, and then this bottom one has knives, saws, and etch rolling in. So always to hand. My little rotary paint stand there is always loaded with a paint project. So all the paints you see there are for the Queen Mary 2. That's my main project. So they're all taken out of their normal storage places and put together for that purpose. As you can see, that's my filming stand. So usually the iPad that I'm holding right now is mounted on there, and that's the angle that it's permanently at that films this here. HMS Fly, another video done and ready to be edited, so watch out for that coming soon. Then I have another set of drawers at the back. This is what my partner would call the man drawer. It has a bit of anything in it that might be handy, and then beneath that I have filler, ammo, pencils, that sort of stuff, and I've got two of my three mixing pallets there. My paintbrush stand, we're going to be doing a tool review on that soon, and then I have these units here, and as you see, if you look at the end of the units, they have magnets on, so they sort of clamp together, and I've got my glues, clamps, tape, blue tack, tweezers, pegs, tube paints, drills, you name it, I've got it all in there. Sprue cutters and small sort of hand tools, pliers and things. And then on the top there I have my paintbrushes, which are all in size order for speed, with flat brushes at the back, and my paint stirrers are in there as well. And then on the top of this, my Vallejo paint system, and that's not all of my paints, it's some of my paints. It's the ones I tend to use most often, and as it's my preferred paint system, that's the one that's closest to hand. So as we move to the desk, these are the tools that I'm using pretty much all the time, so they're kept in a little pot to hand. So you can see I've got my most common glues at the front. I've got my Mr. Surfacer there at the back, one of three different thicknesses, and then I'll have my sprue cutter, small clamps, large sanding sticks, small sanding sticks, files, knives, tweezers, odd things, pipettes, pencils, and my medium CA, just to make sure I do not knock it over. And then at the back here we have my sprue bin, place for my cup clearly, and then where I build. And then I have my desk lamp to one side, which is movable. And then to the left of me, on this chair here, I have my plastic container that's got all my Queen Mary 2 parts in, and those are my magnifying glasses. And then on the right of me, I have a dumbwaiter which has got my computer on, and that's because I'm quite often, as I'm videoing, I'm I airdrop it onto the computer and then put it into files, and you know, if I'm uploading something I can keep an eye on it. Sometimes if I'm waiting for paint to dry or something and I don't want to move things around and do something else, I'll do some editing. And sometimes I'm using it as a jukebox and it's playing some music. And next to the computer is my video list, which that's my video plan of everything that I plan to come out Monday, Wednesdays and Saturdays, up until 1st of April at the bottom there. 1st of April roundup. So I have a little system where I tick them off when the videos are recorded, tick them off when they're edited, and then tick them off when they're uploaded, because my memory is not as good as it used to be. I know exactly where I am. It also helps me focus on making sure I'm doing what I need to be doing next, so that's always a good thing. Okay, so obviously this is not everything, and I can't get it all on here, so up there I have more tools. I have all my Tamiya paints, all my Humbrol paints in a couple of drawers, and my other sort of odd bits and pieces are in there. I have a drawer full of photo etch, a drawer full of spare decals, so yeah, I have more stuff up there, but that is not all of it. I have more in the pantry, stuff that I use occasionally, spare containers for parts, my various, I've got my sash clamps there, my various visors, more paints, primers, all sorts of special things that I use occasionally, you know, washers and that sort of stuff. I've got all sorts of bits and pieces in here that I use regularly but not all the time. And then I've got a little cupboard down here which has got things like my power tools in and chemicals that need locking away. And then I have another shelf up here which has got primers and spirits and thinners and that type of stuff, well out of the reach of the grandchildren. And then in the attic there is even more stuff, my woodworking tools, the things that I use very infrequently, and I've still got my paint extractor system up there, and I've got more drawers with more tools in, some that I very rarely use or never really use, and bigger clamps and build jigs and all that sort of stuff. So as you can see, it works, but it's not ideal. Nothing's to hand, stuff's all over the place. At the moment, because my paint booth is in the attic, I make up a little paint station which I keep in the corner there. So as this is a family space, the dining room end of the kitchen, it works, but it's not particularly pretty. So what we plan to do is put a new solution in which gives us permanent access to the dining room. The fact that I'm going to be working from home 2.5 days a week permanently now means I need a more permanent solution to working from home, and I need a permanent solution for having everything to hand, that and a modelling desk that can be tidied away and looks pretty and does what we need to do, keeps my partner happy, and gives us all access to the parts of the kitchen that we need from time to time. So keep your eyes out for video number 2 when we've done, which will be sometime between now and Easter, because we intend to replace the whole kitchen at Easter anyway. So yeah, keep your eye out for that, and we'll do a after video. Okay, there you go, just a little bit of fun, gives you an idea of where I am, and you can visualize that when you're watching the videos. Alright, take care everyone, enjoy your modelling, and I will see you soon.